Welcome to Addicted to Watches. Today, we will be looking at a watch that holds some significance for me. It was the watch that really got me properly into this hobby, and the watch that also does it for many other people. This is the first automatic watch I ever bought, the infamous but unassuming Seiko 5 Snk807. I'm definitely not the first person to make a video about this little watch, and I'm sure I won't be the last either. It is almost universally recommended as the first mechanical watch to get, and for good reason. It's from a big brand, Seiko, uses a reliable automatic movement, has a display caseback for you to see the movement at work within, and all comes in a package under $100. Though prices have slowly but steadily been rising over the years, the Seiko 5 line has always been a good entry point for a first watch. With literally hundreds of different models covering a wide range of sizes and styles, there is a Seiko 5 to suit everyone's taste at a reasonable price. This particular model became so popular in part because it was the cheapest out of all of them, but I think it is also because of the military field watch aesthetic and simple, no-nonsense appearance. As always, there is never just one. The SNK family also has green, cream and black flavors too, all coming on matching canvas straps. The black dial also had a bracelet version available too. Unfortunately, I don't have the original strap with me at the moment, but changing it out was usually the first thing people did anyway, as it was a bit stiff and basic. Unfortunately, as mentioned, the prices of these and pretty much all Seiko watches have been increasing over the years, and when I bought mine, they could be found pretty easily under $80, but now they seem to be closing in on $100. Even at that price, however, they are still a compelling option. By now, you should know that blue dials are my favorite, so it should be no surprise that I picked this color variation. I really like the shade of blue that they chose for this watch. It's a desaturated navy with a hint of green that helps it to be fairly discreet on wrist. The dial itself is completely printed except for the applied Seiko logo and 5 shield below it. Around the perimeter, we can see the minutes are printed with a triangle pointing to 12 for orientation, and inside a printed circle are the hours. This is a typical layout for a field watch, and Seiko isn't trying to reinvent the wheel here. One opportunity I think Seiko missed here is sizing that inner circle framing the hours to have it line up with the gap between the day and date wheels. If it was just a little bit smaller, it would have integrated a lot more seamlessly. Diamond hour and minute hands point right up to their respective numerals, and the red tip of the second hand provides a little pop of color. On Sundays, it also matches the red printing on the day wheel. The case is a very wearable 37mm size that suits both small and larger wrists. A slim height of 11mm combined with a short lug-to-lug of 43 helps with that too. Keeping in the proportions of the watch, the lug width is 18mm. Being a fairly inexpensive watch, the case finishing reflects that. All surfaces, the bezel, lugs, crown, and sides of the case, are done in a bead-blasted finish. That is created by, as the name suggests, repeatedly blasting the case with tiny bits of sand, and the resulting effect is this smooth, matte finish. This type of finishing on the watch matches well with the field watch theme, and is also good at resisting marks and scratches. The crown position at 345 is quite common on Seiko 5 models, and we can see it's slightly recessed within the case. It is neither signed nor screw down, which means this watch only has a 30-meter water-resistant rating. The crown is a little undersized, but this cutout on the underside of the case gives you a bit of extra room to grab the crown. Like most other Seiko watches, this also uses a hardlex crystal to protect the dial. Hardlex is Seiko's proprietary material and is supposedly slightly better than mineral crystal, but not nearly as good as sapphire. Looking at the caseback of the watch, it is polished and screws down onto the case. The great thing about this caseback is that it's a display caseback. It has that glass window allowing you to see right into the case and watch the movement work. Especially on a watch that people will be getting as their first automatic watch, this is a great choice. If you're just getting into watches and you can see the balance wheel spinning, it could pique your curiosity and drag you deeper down the rabbit hole. Like every other Seiko 5 made at the time this one was, the Snk807 uses the 7S26 automatic movement. This is Seiko's basic, entry-level automatic movement with a day and date complication. It is a reliable, tough movement that you won't really need to worry about on a day-to-day basis. And when it comes time to service, is inexpensive enough that you could just buy a completely new movement and swap it out. The strap that I have on this watch now is not the original one like I mentioned. I don't have the original one with me. The original strap had a branded matching buckle that was also in a sandblasted finish. However, I would not recommend keeping it on the original. Instead, I have it on this similar strap from AliExpress. Like the original, it has leather reinforcement and is a blue canvas material. However, it is much softer and much more comfortable than the original strap. Checking it out on some other straps, we have this brown one, which complements the blue of the dial really well. Blue dial watches pretty much always pair well with a nice brown strap. As we'll see next when I put it on wrist, I also have a similar blue strap that works equally well with this watch too. Now, let's get it on wrist and see how it wears. The compact size of the watch case and the lugs really help this watch to sit on my wrist nicely. Those lugs also have a bit of downturn, which adds to that. Being this small really makes it easy to wear this watch as an everyday watch, as it's light and comfortable enough, even with an automatic movement. You really can forget that you're wearing it sometimes. Here we have it on that brown strap we saw earlier, and this blue one that I mentioned before. There is not a lot that I'd want to change about this watch, obviously keeping in mind that it is a budget watch. Sure, a hacking and hand-winding movement would be nice, but that would also push up the price of the watch. It would be nice to see a little variation in the finishing of the watch, maybe a polished bezel, like I've seen some modders do, and slightly bigger lume markers on the dial would be good. But both of those changes would detract a little from the overall style of the watch. These changes would just be to suit my personal taste for the watch. A better factory strap would also be welcome, but seeing as most people would be changing it out anyway, it's probably a good place for Seiko to cut some costs and keep the price down. Another interesting thing to note is that earlier this year, Seiko decided to re-release this design with an upgraded movement to a 4R36, slightly different hands, and a larger 39.4mm case size. I can understand why they would increase the size to appeal to a wider market, and there would have been lots of people calling for the movement upgrade, but with a retail price of $275 on the Seiko USA website, those upgrades pretty much tripled the price of this watch. Whether or not that is worth it to you depends on your priorities for the watch. So, this watch has a lot going for it, which is what made it so widely recommended and so popular. It can be an everyday watch, but because it's a Seiko, it can also be used as a base for modding. The dial and hands are all Seiko's standard size and easily swappable. I have also even seen people polishing the bezel on this watch, and the result looks great. Swapping the original crystal for a domed sapphire one is also a mod I've seen done quite a lot. For many, this was their first proper watch, and I think even though it has now ceased production and been replaced by Seiko in their new 5 line with a watch that is a larger size, has a better movement, and an increased price, there are so many of these older SNKs floating around that they'll be available for a long time yet. I really hope they continue to inspire the curiosity of new watch enthusiasts as they discover the interesting world of mechanical watches. What do you think about this watch? Was this your first watch too, or a different model from the Seiko 5 line? Do you think there is a place for a Seiko 5 in the collection of even a seasoned watch nerd, or just for the beginners? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.